I'm really tired.
I'm really tired too.
I am really tired.
Of like right now or just in general?
No, well, I mean, yeah, both. I haven't, because Alicia and Keelan are out of town.
I know.
And so I've just been here working and doing all sorts of stuff, but I've been going to sleep really late and trying to get up early to get more done. And now I'm really tired.
That should be interesting.
Yeah, I can't think straight because, like I said, my wife is out of town. And I kind of revert to like, I don't know, like a high schooler or something where it's like things are just left. Like I'm pretty good about,
You're
cook, I'm fairly clean. But when I'm in like working in like a hotel room or they're away and I'm here, I just like, it's like I don't have the ability to put anything away.
It's like a staycation, but we need a word for like a mike.
Mike?
It's a mike. So
That needs more workshopping.
A little bit of work.
You know that kinship you feel when someone gets the obscure movie quote you tossed out in a conversation? As I am dead, marry another. Welcome to Such a Good One! A podcast where two siblings bond over their unabashed love for the movies they grew up on. I'm Josh Cook.
And I'm Jessi Cook.
Come digress with us. Michael Keaton's your favorite, and The Paper maybe is your favorite movie of his. When did you see this? Because I have seen it once before. I don't remember when. It wasn't that long ago.
Did you like it?
I loved it. And watching it this time, I loved it again.
So good.
And for a variety of reasons. And one of the things about it that's so interesting to me was that it's right in this weird 90s film thing where everything is comfortable and easy. And part of that might be Ron Howard also. I kind of always felt he's a pretty easy...
You mean like the flow?
I just mean like the way this movie opens is like intense, and there's a lot of intense stuff that happens, but you never really feel watching it like there's really any danger. Like you feel very safe. There are a lot of movies that have a really intense stuff that happen in them and you feel like uncomfortable watching it or you feel like caught up in it. But there's something about like a 90s sheen of movie. Like Dave is this way too, where it's like it's all nice and that, but it feels like a little removed.
Like
it's
even
safe.
when stuff hits the fan, you know it's going to be okay.
It feels very like safe storytelling. And there are a couple of moments where I'm going to bring this up a few times because I kept thinking it as I was watching this. But anyway, so when did you first see this?
I don't remember when I first saw it, but I'm going to just go on a limb and say...
This is going well.
I'm going to go out on a limb and say like middle school because I feel like that's when we kind of got into the more... Like we were all watching The West Wing together in high school, and like like mom and dad. So I feel like that's when I got into their like I don't know how I need a different word for this, not adult movies, but like movies they like. Like not like we weren't wasn't this isn't one of our like Harry and the Hendersons films. This is like
so you really enjoyed watching adult movies with mom and dad in high school.
So good. Ew, stop. I meant like I was a young. I
understand.
Okay.
You're not talking about like kid movies anymore. You started watching like real movies. By the way, side note, did you know that Jaws is rated PG?
Yes, I did. Your daughter told me that.
That is insane.
First of all.
What happened there?
I have a Jaws... Oh, wait. I don't
Terrifying.
I have a Jaws poster at school. I don't know, something about it. And the kid said something like, oh, I was going to see that. And I was like, please don't. Please don't see that. You're 10 years old.
No.
And listen, again, with the VHS recording, I never saw that when Jaws nibbles on that man's leg, it
falls to the ocean
floor. I didn't see that part. So when I saw it like in a real whatever, I was like, oh no.
Yeah.
It looks like a lamb chop. Where's the goat? Like that kind of like Jurassic Park.
Yeah.
You guys okay over there? Like there's so much blood. That movie's terrifying.
It's terrifying.
And I'm here to tell you that I watch it at least once a
I
month.
cannot believe that it's a PG movie. That
That
blew
just
my
goes
mind.
more to the point. The back then people were like, watch it. Stop complaining about being scared and nightmares and stuff. Like now everyone's like, oh, be careful. Like I did not see Jaws super young. I would have I did have sharks in my nightmares. But I didn't have them in my nightmares like it's from that movie. It's probably from that movie. It just hit me. Like if I had sharks in my nightmares.
Yes, it's from Jaws. Mom said that when she saw it, she was afraid to brush her teeth for a while. I mean, jokingly.
She's so afraid, like just like Psycho.
Yeah.
No one wanted to go in the shower. No one wanted to go in the ocean. It was, I guess around that time, everyone smelled, which tracks with history.
Yes, it does.
That's a good.
But that was a side note that was PG. Now we're on a whole other path. Let's get back to the paper.
That was your
and
fault.
Michael Keaton. No, I brought up a side note, and then you opened up your biography about adult movies. And so, talking about the paper.
You can't side note with me. Okay.
Yeah,
yes.
Right. Side note.
The Paper is an excellent film, and it's one of my favorite watch it again and again and again movies. And I can't put this into words, so you're gonna love this.
It's because it's safe. Like it's like it feels good to watch it, even though all this intense stuff is going on.
But I think because yes, it's. I still don't know if I'm following you on that one.
Right.
But like, I don't really
what
know
are you
what you're
saying?
talking about.
You don't know what I'm talking about with the '90s
really.
thing.
Can we move off of it? Martin Sheen.
What?
I don't know. You said Sheen, and
I
that's
said
all I could
Sheen.
think about.
Yes,
that's all I could think about.
No, move off of why is this like
because
difficult for you?
I'm gonna forget.
Well, then make the point. Oh my gosh!
Look what happened.
I didn't.
Okay.
You said something to me.
I like the amount of like different things that are happening all at once. So there's so much.
Feels like your brain.
And I like all of the places where things are happening. It sounds good. I mean,
so I think you should start
the switching of scenes to what?
I think you need to start reviewing movies. I like all the things that are happening at once, and I like the places where things are happening. It's an amazing review. That's incredible.
Oh man! All right, let's just get into it.
We are getting into it.
Put it this way: if you're a Michael Keaton fan, this has it all. Michael Keaton, he might be like, that's crap, but it feels like he just goes 120,000%.
He's extremely Michael Keaton in this.
He is so good, but he's so great, and it just feels like he puts his whole heart and soul into things, and this is so deliciously Michael Keaton.
I think he's really great in it.
He's also, and I love because yes, you said something about you were happy Beetlejuice came back because he's so funny, but he's been doing serious roles, but he's always kind of funny. And in this, he's mostly funny, but he also gets to be a little bit serious and there's a little bit of drama. Not a lot. He's mostly funny.
He's like a panic attack at one point, but that's kind of it. But then like the rest of it, there's a
waterbed.
I'm not gonna let it go or whatever it is that you said.
I don't even know what I was saying, let alone what you were saying.
Oh, you're talking about the '90s Sheen thing. Because it is interesting, and I think a lot of films have this, and this one in particular, and we'll get into it. I'm going to talk about stuff, but I do want to say, as far as reviews go, I wanted to tell you this. This is from Janet Maslin at the New York Times, original review.
Doesn't she review something else, and I got very mad at her?
It's a busy day for the staff of the New York Sun, the raffish newspaper. I suppose it's raffish newspaper that is the subject of The Paper, Ron Howard's strenuously eventful new comedy drama. In the 24-hour span by the film, the audience witnesses, among other things, one birth, one affair, one shooting, and one cancer diagnosis. To make sure all bases are covered, newspaper-wise, there is even a full-throated cry of "Stop the presses!"
Yeah.
Naturally, there's a story behind each one of these little epiphanies, but it is never a story colorful or fresh enough to suit the Sun's supposedly bold, savvy style. Mr. Howard trumpets the big-hearted boisterousness of this tale without really straying from the calm, predictable waters of his earlier Backdraft and Parenthood, films most memorable for their eagerness to please and near-total lack of individual personality.
I'm going to strenuously object to this review. I don't like any of that so far because...
The absence of grit is especially noticeable in The Paper, which opens today.
Of grit?
Yeah.
Such a great movie. Can we stop for a second? This is making me angry, and I'll tell you why. Mm-hmm. All right, we were doing the review for The Dream Team. Now, I still love that movie so much. I could see that. I could see where they were finding holes, and it got in there a little. It bothered me a little bit. This is just dumb. It's a
The Dream
great
Team
movie.
review bothered you?
No, it bothered me because they were basically like, it's not that interesting or good, and I was like, I mean,
But it is. I agree.
is.
You can't. I am. You know,
let's keep reading it because then I'm going to talk
well,
about. Why
I'm not going
she's
to read the whole
wrong.
thing, but
it's
I'm
bad.
trying to find.
Janet.
Physical work. This is each principal, meaning each lead character,
I
has
know
a
what that
problem.
means.
Well, I didn't know if you knew that.
means.
Is conveniently addressed during this one-day interlude, thanks to a screenplay by David Koepp and Stephen Koepp brothers. Which, interestingly enough, David Koepp is a very famous screenwriter, and I'll read you some of his credits in a minute. Stephen Koepp apparently was like a managing editor at Time. I didn't realize this. Anyway, that feels like the work of a committee. The script. The film's general drift is to start these people at a fever pitch and then let them gradually unveil life's inner meaning as the tale trudges toward resolution. By dawn the next day, most of them have decided to slow down and smell the roses.
It's a movie. What is it supposed to be? Well, there's your smelling roses comfort film.
Here's the one thing she said. Also on hand and spicing up the film considerably is a wickedly funny Glenn Close as Alicia Clark, the Sun's devious managing editor. They talk about how she loves her, essentially.
Well, she's
Played brilliantly, devilishly by Miss Close, cut from a flashier cloth than her co-workers. Alicia is one of the few characters here who warrant more screen time than they get.
Did she say anything about Michael Keaton?
Not
And
a
Randy
whole,
Quaid
not a
was
whole
good.
lot.
Everyone was good.
They kind of mention everyone. They say that Mr. Duvall and Ms. Tomei are particularly appealing, suggesting there may be real people lurking somewhere behind the superficiality of the screenplay. As Henry, Mr. Keaton overdoes his wise guy diffidence in the interest of screwball patter, but even he shows off a sensitive side before the story ends. And then there's this whole thing, which is kind of funny. Incidentally, Henry's love of Coca-Cola is presented so flagrantly that it looks like one of his main personality traits.
It only comes up.
No, it's a lot.
It does come up a lot.
It's a lot.
Who cares though? That's one of his like funny.
There's a large Coke machine in the Sun's newsroom. Henry's he has a Coke here. He has a Coke here. He has a Coke here. Coke is one of the most conspicuously plugged products in the movies, but the advertising barrage here is outrageous.
Why?
You're apt to leave the theater feeling annoyed and thirsty.
That's so dumb.
Anyway.
But I think that's funny because like and by the way, people that are really into soda, I'm sure they were trying to hawk the soda. It's a thing. Like we always used to joke, like when you went to the principal's office at work, you should bring like a Diet Coke with you because they always drink Coke. Like people have their little funny quirks. Like I don't, Janet. Damn it. Janet. I don't like that. I don't like any of it.
She was the one
like,
I think who wrote the Rocketeer review. I was ready to strangle her about. But then
yeah. Well, so not only is she wrong about all of that, but also what I like about it is that I like how the newsroom, it almost reads more like a musical, the way they just move around each other and like the conversation is like on or off screen, like they're walking by and it's just like what you were saying. What do they call that when you're picking up snippets of other conversations around the room?
I don't know what the actual name for that is, but it's more of like a sort of found conversations.
But it legitimately felt like they all knew each other.
Well,
and they all went to Elaine's. Like I just felt like they all actually worked together.
I read like a trivia thing here that apparently a lot of newspaper people say this is the best representation of like what it is like at a newspaper.
I'm not surprised because because they also show you the sort of, what's the word I'm looking for? Like the tedious stuff where it's like they're trying to find the right word for something or someone's got some weird like office share situation. It's not, they always try to make it hot. Like every story is like this explosion and they're like talking about the ridiculous stories. Like, could we get a better penis photo for that? Like they're just penile implants or whatever. Like the story.
That?
You don't remember that? It looks like a map of Florida. Like,
but
everything they say is that's like there's a lot of normalcy to it, and it's not just. But it's a frantic thing. Like you're moving around. You do have deadlines.
I mean, I've never worked at a newspaper, but I could see that, and it seems to make sense to me. And what you were saying is interesting about the there are a lot of little moments where there's people gathered around a computer, like trying to figure out the right word, and I do like that.
I think that's so funny.
An interesting byproduct of having done this podcast is I've really, and I can't remember if I've already said this, but I'm really like confused about film criticism now.
They just hate life.
I don't like, because so many of the things, the reviews that we've read are really like, I mean, they're really like trying to make it an interesting story, and you're like, that's a movie.
But they did. They're like, it's like, well, they make something happen. They make this big exciting moment, and then there's a resolution, and everyone figures it out. It's like, that's a movie. Like I don't understand. Like,
I guess I get confused because it does. It feels like a lot of the reviews and reviewers are sort of. They're holding something.
It's like
up
they want it to be
some
bad. They're waiting for it to be bad. Though.
They're so like down on so much. Like I often wonder what review, like what movie are they like? Well, it's not that. You know what I mean? Like
I just don't understand. And like that's the thing is like I feel like the characters are so. Even the smallest characters are so fleshed out. You get like a little look into them. Like I loved it. I thought even.
I agree. I'm so confused by some of these reviews, but this
didn't
movie
feel hollow. It didn't feel shallow to me. I loved it.
This movie I do love. But so getting into it and getting also right off the bat, what I was talking about with the '90s sheen is like, okay, so like this movie opens with like these two black like teenagers like walking down the street in the middle of the night, and they see this. They come up upon this car, and these two white businessmen dead, like bloody and dead. But right off the bat, the blood is like vibrantly red. It's very unrealistic. And like nothing about it seems real. Like the clothes they're wearing, like the guy that the teenagers are wearing are like really nice and clean. Like nothing about it seems real. Like to me at all. Like it just seems like the beginning of a movie. And it's rather than like a real thing that we're seeing. And what I mean is like I think movies in the 90s were a lot like that, where it was like they weren't really like, because I feel like movies a lot of times now, it's like getting you into the grittiness of like real life and stuff. And I don't think that was a thing then. It was more like, hey, this is like, this is a story that we're going to tell you, which is fine. But it's fascinating. There's like a whole genre of these movies, I think, where it's like, nothing feels really dangerous. Like, I'm never really worried for those kids. I'm way more worried about them meeting the deadline and, like, the money that's being lost on not printing as they hold off later in the film. I'm, like, way more concerned about that.
I don't know. So I wasn't. I was worried about the kid.
Really?
My main
see them in the movie.
No, I mean, I think what they did a couple of things by showing them in that they presented them in this as they were. Innocent kids,
very young
and they were
and
so scared. Like when they see this, they're so scared, and then immediately that woman screams, and like right away, they know and we know, like, oh God, she thinks that they did it, and they take off, and like you're really scared for. Like I was really scared for them. It was like really, oh my God, and then
it's interesting because I recognize that. But
I mean, they don't bring it up
a
lot, but I mean, again, like the centerfold of it is just.
What's
funny is the character debate of like, is it worth it to you? To sacrifice ethics and you know for this, so like I was focused on that.
What I mean is those kids in the movie probably have like maybe 4 minutes of screen time. In the
they're
movie.
barely
in
it.
And so it's a catalyst for the story.
But I loved that how hard that they all, and it because actually to me, I think if anything I would say that they were fighting for him to be excited about. Oh, we're gonna have the best sales, but it was about selling papers, but he really was focused on like you're gonna ruin these kids' lives. Like,
well, it becomes
and it did come, and I appreciated that, and like those kids were presented, they were so sweet and like innocent,
so
and it was
worked
just
for
like,
you. But for me, like a lot of those '90s movies just seem like there's this, like I said, a sheen where you're just like you're not really too invested. And it's like the danger isn't really real.
I'm not feeling you.
Okay, that's fair enough.
I was invested.
So like you said, the woman, like they find the guys. Some woman sees them. They're like, "Oh no, we're in trouble." They run off, and then it's like we're hearing the news.
Yeah, there's a racial slur spray painted on the car.
Is that? I forgot. Yes, you're right.
They think it's.
That's right. So they think it's
a racially motivated crime
because there was a crime like a week before, so they think a racially motivated crime a week before. So they think it's a retaliation. Yeah. And we hear this in the news reports. And then we're in the apartment of Marissa Tomei and
Kind of
Keaton.
kicked your butts today. I love that when she right off the bat.
She's extremely pregnant.
So pregnant. That tummy is big.
Very disturbing.
It was a lot. It was a lot to see.
And I'm curious, was it real? I don't know, but it was very well done.
No.
Keaton's passed out in his clothes on top of the bed. And so
still looks great.
We're getting he still looks great.
Yeah, I love that. Mad at me. 4 a.m. in the morning. Like she's so angry with him for coming home late.
Yeah. So we get a little info dump here. We understand that he works for this place, the New York Sun, which is this scrappy paper. She used to be a reporter there, but she is on maternity leave, and we understand her storyline is like it's sort of she's going out of her mind. She wants to be back at work.
I love that they get like a stack of papers too.
Yeah, they got a stack.
I love they get all the papers delivered because obviously he's a serious newspaper man, which comes up later.
They're going through all the news of the day, and that's what she's like. Oh, you got your butts kicked yesterday because this story of the kids, of the teenagers, is on like the front page of every paper except the Sun, which runs like a parking. There's like an ongoing story that Randy Quaid is reporting.
No parking except for me.
Yeah. Is reporting on the parking enforcement guy.
What's his name? Is George Alexander? Is that his name? The guy from Jason Alexander. Yeah. So great. And
which comes up as throughout the film, but we get like a glimpse of it there. So
I think
Keaton's pissed.
Again, I think they do tie in these little storylines, and they keep consistent, which I really like.
Well, I was saying David Koepp, I was mentioning to you, like this is I suppose an early screenplay by him. He eventually writes, starting in 91, according to his list of filmography here, Toy Soldiers, Death Becomes Her, Jurassic Park, Carlito's Way, The Paper.
Oh my God.
Then a few like The Shadow and a few other things. The first Mission Impossible, the next Jurassic Park, a bunch of Panic Room, Spider-Man. I mean, the guy he's one of the War of the Worlds, and then he did the later Indiana Jones movies. We won't talk about that.
What? Oh, the later. Oh,
good stuff. But he is a extremely well-known and well-respected writer, and this is one of his earlier films.
K-E-P-P?
No, it's K-E-O-P-P or K-O-E-P-P.
Oh.
Anyway, so we find out that he's a reporter, and then also we find out they're married and that he has an interview at what's essentially a stand. Yeah, the Sentinel, which is the stand-in for the New York Times, where he has an interview, and this could be a lot more money. Yeah. And they obviously have a family, they're about to have a kid.
Yeah.
So she really wants him to take this job, and he can tell he doesn't want to do it. Then we take him into the New York Sun. We follow him to the Sun offices, and it's like a classic newsroom.
Bustling.
When print, because I guess even print then was starting to dwindle, but it was like a classic newsroom. And I do
print was dwindling.
That's what they were.
The World Wide Web was that hot?
No, but they were. I was reading some trivia stuff, and they were saying that even when they were doing this film, there was a print journalism was starting because there was TV journalism was on the up and up and up and up. Okay. And they often will watch the TV and in it and they'll kind of he'll be like, gotcha, or score points on the fact that they didn't get a good scoop or he had the better scoop. Anyway,
what I like, and I think part of the newsroom too is it's not just people typing and flying. People are up in the fixing lights and guy walking around with a plant and stuff. Oh, it's boiling. All right, so it's boiling.
The air conditioning is off, so they have a repairman coming throughout this day. This whole movie's in a 24-hour period. I do like that there's that one shot where you see the offices and he's walking through and you can tell he's important. People are talking to him. There's one. I love that there's this detail of there's one woman's desk that's just plants everywhere.
Yes, that's true.
And you never see her. It's not a character.
I don't know who it is.
And I just love that was the set dressing or whoever it was that just art direction was let's have one crazy plant lady.
I love it. And
great.
I just love all those little characters with the guy with the chair, and then he's looking for change, and she's like, I took up a collection, and you could never ask anyone again.
Yeah.
Because he's always looking for change for the Coke
Michael
machine.
Keaton, yeah.
Oh, sorry, Janet. Yeah. He needs change for the Coke machine.
Yeah.
Coke.
And then one of the things he says at the beginning
caffeine.
Someone asks him, it's like a society reporter. She's like, "What do you have for me today?"
Oh yeah.
And he goes, "Donald Trump jumped off a building and landed right on Madonna."
And they all went to Elaine's.
I
love it.
Yeah, which is really funny and also intense.
And I love that the same woman then in the meeting is like, "This should interest you, Henry. The mother whale in the Ukraine had twins." Like, told me she was on the pill. Like, I just love the exchanges between
Yeah, there's a lot of great camaraderie that kind of comes through this.
True.
Oh yeah, he walks into his office and he walks into
is Randy Quaid
and
in
Randy
there
Quaid's passed out asleep on his couch because he's hiding because the parking enforcement guy that he's been doing all these stories about, whoever's he's I can't remember what his official title is, but
He's
he
a
works,
columnist, but
No. Randy Quaid is the columnist. But the Jason Alexander character, who we
yeah.
only meet at the end,
so
he's
great.
He's
Sandusky.
like Sandusky. He's like a parking commissioner guy,
Yeah.
and Randy Quaid just keeps hammering him in his like column about
I
he's
think initially
corrupt and
his car
everything.
got towed or something, and they
Yeah.
damaged it, and it like destroyed this vintage automobile. So he's just been like hounding him, and
Yeah.
he's got like these following of readers that just think it's hysterical.
So he's sleeping in the office because he claims that Sandusky's out to kill him.
Yeah.
And so
Michael Keaton's like, "Who is that? What is his name in the movie? I forget."
who?
McDougal. He walks in
yeah,
and he's
McDougal.
like, "Who is that?" It's McDougal. He said he can't go home. Someone's trying to kill him.
Yeah, right. And he's got so
Yeah.
he's also got a gun.
Is that gun?
Yeah, he's carrying a gun now. McDougal,
Yeah.
Randy Quaid, is carrying a gun around.
it.
And so we also meet Robert Duvall, who like he is such like
he's great.
It's silly to say he's an underrated actor because he's so brilliant. But the thing is, like, people say, "Oh, Al Pacino, oh, Bobby De Niro, all this stuff."
Oh, Duvall
But like, very
he's
rarely
everywhere.
comes up in those same conversations. But he is. I don't think I've ever seen him in a movie where he was like not real for a moment.
No, he's so real, and
There's nothing phony about anything he ever does. He's so committed to
I also
every
feel he takes-
single moment.
he also takes a lot of smaller roles that, like, I feel like a lot of big fancy, like, he's a big fancy big time actor,
Paul
but
Newman
he
turned
does
this
it.
role down. Actually, a lot of people did, I think.
Well, it's just funny because like he seems to be very comfortable in these little. Like, what he was in, he was the doctor in Phenomenon with John Travolta, which I love that movie. It's such a small role, but he's so good.
He's always so good.
And last night I was talking to someone. I was in the middle of something, a serious conversation, and all of a sudden I'm like, "Is that Robert Duvall?" Because there was like a movie on in the background. They're like, "What?"
They're just
Like,
like, you
I
randomly
hear his
walked
voice
in
and you
on the
know
main
it.
line.
Like, no, that would be neat.
He's so good. So anyway, he's the managing editor,
And
he has a conversation with Henry on the roof about career and family, and because Henry's going for this New York Sentinel interview, and Duvall's kind of like,
Is this happening right away? Or are you skipping stuff? It feels like it's happening so fast. Anyway, he's got a hacking cough. He smokes like a chimney. He's a mess. He's
yeah, well,
very
I
unhealthy.
don't know if maybe there's like a little
Oh, I'm going to look it up.
mini
I
scene
said-
before this. I said that there was just like when Keaton's in his office and he finds Randy Quaid, there are people coming in and they're like, "I want this story. I want to you
yeah.
send me to Brooklyn. You got to do this kind of stuff." And you know,
Do they,
all this
oh, wait.
stuff's
Do
going
they
on.
have the morning
Not yet.
meeting yet? No, because there are two. They have the meeting and then they have the 3 o'clock. 3:09. So they have a meeting.
Well,
in
there's the
morning.
meeting. Well, so I have it this way where they're on the roof and he's tough as nails, tough as nails editor, and he's not going to make the decision easy for Keaton, you know. And he's basically his advice to Keaton is sort of like what he's getting across is, you can go up there and get money. He's like, you know.
Oh, you know what? I'm sorry. You know why? I know.
I
know.
No one cares.
No, I know. Because he's in the office with McDougal, and then he said something, I got a big decision to make. And then his assistant's like, oh, but the Sentinel job? And he's
Yeah.
like, what? How did you know about that?
Yeah.
It's a newsroom, Henry. and then McDougal's like, Bernie told me. And he's like, Bernie knows? And Bernie's the boss. So that's the next time you see them
That's
up on the roof. And
That's right.
he's like,
playing
oh,
Bernie.
hey.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's
and
funny. I forgot about that.
He's
Yeah.
got he's like, are you all right? And he's like, oh, fine. He's like, no, you don't really want to know. He's like, no, Bernie, I asked. If I ask, I want to know. He's got a prostate the size of a bagel.
That's right.
He's
yeah.
like,
so Bernie's
so
dealing
they go
with
for a walk up to the roof.
Yeah, that's right. Bernie's
Gotta
dealing
walk
with a
before I
prostate
die.
situation. They go to the roof. Michael Keaton's trying to basically get his blessing in a way to go.
Well, we make it easy for you to go to another paper.
Yeah,
I'm sorry,
And
that's
he's
not my
like-
job.
And he's not going to do it. And so then we have one quick thing where we see that the two black kids have like they brought the paper in and they see they're on the front page.
Oh,
and
the little
or not
girl.
them. but like the scene, like the
scene,
crimes
yeah.
on the front page, and they're just like,
Like, what do we do?
They get like no screen time in this. Then they have this great Back in the Sun office. Glenn Close comes in, and she's like a force that comes in,
my
and she
God.
is just a
Alicia Clark.
Clark, and she's just very fancy, and she's also some kind of editor on this.
Wait, has she already come in? Like,
no, this is the first time we see her.
so not the phone when he's on the phone with her.
Oh yeah, that's great.
That's a great scene.
That's when he first walks into his office. Is like she's calling because she's mad about something.
She's pissed about the story.
And
she's pissed about the story.
And he keeps he's on the phone. He keeps crumpling a piece of paper. He's like, I'm losing you in the tunnel, and he's crumpling the paper. And I was like, oh, this is funny. Early cell phone
He's
humor.
like, I love car phones.
Early car phone humor. But she comes in and she's very like society, and she's talking about, Bobby De Niro is. See if
Bobby
I can,
called?
See if Bobby called. See if we can get a table. And then
I love her. Who is she? She's in everything.
Oh, I don't know.
She's in everything.
Her assistant or whoever is basically like, yeah, they said that you can pay for the table.
It's going to be $500 a plate.
Yeah. And she's trying to get it for free.
Yeah.
So she wants to be fancier than she is, basically. So then they're in the office meeting, and they've got, it's just like a lot of humor. Everyone is smoking.
Everyone's smoking.
I love the guy, and I meant to look up who it is. Here, but
is that the guy that's sitting on Watergate? I love that guy.
The guy who is I think the chair guy.
Oh, I love him.
He is so great.
Come
and
on,
he's
with the
such
smoke.
He's such a great character. And I meant to look up who. I'm going to look up who it is. But yeah, there's one guy who's like angry about his chair. Oh, Jack Kehoe is his name.
He's like, the doctor found what's it? Nicotine in my urine again. He's like, keep your cat in my ashtray.
Oh my gosh, I didn't realize who this was.
We're having a moment. Who is it?
Well, he's in The Sting also.
Oh,
he's the
I think I just pictured him.
He's the one who like comes in and he's got like his nose. He works with Luther and them, and he got his nose busted in, so he's like trying to get interviewed. He's like, yeah, and do you remember this in The Sting? All right, anyway.
No.
Okay, he's a very, very recognizable character actor, but I almost didn't recognize him in this. He's great. He's so good in this. Anyway, he's just a character who he's angry because everyone keeps stealing his chair.
Also, yes, he's angry about that.
And there's a lot of that kind of stuff that's going on.
And then there's the guy that's in everything. I forget his name too. And he's like, I'm telling you, I'm sitting on Watergate out there. I'm like, is it possible that you're always sitting on Watergate somewhere? But the other thing that happens in that Randy Quaid conversation is that he brings up the shooting, and then he's like, yeah, but not before I heard a couple of cops come on and say they think this bus is bull. So he goes. Where he says that? I think he goes into the meeting knowing something's not. There's more to this. There's more to the story.
So they heard on the police scanner that the cops don't think the bust is. They don't. Well, actually, hold on a second.
Something like that.
Wait, hold on a second.
Is it too late?
You're killing me. They haven't been busted yet. Will you shut up and just follow the notes?
I'm sorry.
Good Lord. Anyway.
I'm sorry. You're right.
In the meeting, there's so Bernie has a coughing fit, which we understand that he's kind of sick and stuff. Henry wants to run with day 2 of the murder story coverage, and Alicia wants to go with some subway story. And she did not know Henry has an interview at the Sentinel. And they're all
yeah.
You got to get a town for your interview, bitch.
Because Henry's got an interview at the Sentinel.
Yeah, and she's pissed. Because again,
pissed.
She wants to be fancier than she is. And so then Henry does go to the Sentinel offices, and it's the polar opposite of the sun.
Map.
Everything's clean. There's He asks where someone is, and they're like map, and there's a map of the whole
This guy's talking bow tie. Why is his bow tie moving? I thought you'd know. Anyway, go ahead.
So he has this interview, and it's Spalding Gray who plays this guy who's this very famous especially theater performer. And he's suspenders, bow tie.
Oh yeah.
And he says to him, he's like, we'd love to have you. You're a real newspaper man. You guys got a cute little paper down there. Is what he says, and it immediately incenses Michael Keaton.
It's a cute newspaper.
Yeah, he is furious.
I like when he kind of missed the boat on that one last night though, and he's laughing and his bow tie's like. Burp, 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 burp.
Oh really?
He's
I didn't even notice that.
Yeah.
I didn't even notice that.
He's just a smug, waspy.
So he's just he's smug. Wow. They are the best paper, and so Keaton is like. He doesn't like it.
We cover the world.
So he, as I keep saying, the Sentinel, we cover the world.
Ugh.
And he offers him the job. He says, the job is yours if you want it, basically. And Michael Keaton, he can't let it go.
No.
The insult, and he knows that his wife wants him to take the job. So he's like, "What do you got in that murder case?" I'm just curious. What do you got in there?
One newspaper man to another.
The Sedona case. The Sedona lead. And so
Henry, you don't work here yet.
Yeah, he's not going to share these leads, of course. But as he says it, Spalding Gray covers a paper on his desk, and so Keaton catches it. And at one point, Spalding Gray turns around and do something, and Keaton looks at the notes, and he basically steals the lead that the Sentinel has.
Yeah, he gives him that book,
and he walks out of the office, and we see that Bernie's at the doctor's. He's got prostate cancer, which we discover. I think, isn't there a line in there too where he's trying to make all these jokes and the doctor's just not there, and finally he goes, "Can you be funny about this at all?"
Could you possibly be any less emotionless about this, or any less humorless about this?
Yes.
No, I don't think so.
No, no, I don't think so.
For you to burn a hole in
yeah,
that's good.
So he then goes back to the office, and you hear him. He's calling, which we assume is his daughter, who we assume is the DA. It seems because obviously he's got mortality on his mind. Then we're out with Mr. Tomei at lunch with
Catherine O'Hara.
National treasure, Catherine O'Hara, even though she's Canadian, she's still a national treasure. I love her so much. She's only in this one scene, and she's basically playing Mr. Tomei's worst nightmare.
Yes.
Which is I think she was a former reporter also. And now she has kids and a suburban wife, and at one point she goes, Marissa Tomei is saying something, talking about I'm going to be, says something about reading.
I don't have so much time. I want to do the babies. Reading with the
kid. Yeah. Because basically she says her life was ruined by kids.
And she's just sucking down wine and basically telling her how her life is over. And so Marissa Tomei is visibly okay.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
She's freaking out. So we see Glenn Close, she's having an affair with one of the other reporters. They're in a hotel room. And she says, "This is the last time," or whatever. So she's kind of, her life seems to be a total mess. Then the cops bust in and they arrest the teenagers. And the little girl, the little daughter sees it all. And this again is the 90s. Same time about there's this sad violin music playing, and it doesn't feel quite real or anything. It just feels so safe. I don't know. It's weird.
A lot of
I really enjoy the movie, but I'm kind of taken out of it a lot by all this kind of stuff.
I don't know. I didn't mind it. I mean, they could have made it. It's about the newsroom, I guess. It's really about the newsroom, not about this huge poignant story. So
no, it's not. No, I'm not saying there should be more time. I'm just saying the way that all of this is shot.
Right.
I never really feel the only. Well, no, I guess there are a few things. Michael Keaton's panic attack, and then the way that they're having to hold the press and everything.
Wait, hold on. You're night, and you're skipping over something. Alicia Clark, you put her in the hotel room. She's having an affair. This is important because of that confrontation she has later with the guy. Because she's spending a bunch of money on these hotel rooms. Okay, it's not that important. But it's important enough.
Do you think is she spending the newspaper's money?
No, she's spending her money, so she keeps complaining that she has no money, and he's like, "Oh,
that's right." She keeps
and that's
spending.
How,
yeah.
And he calls her out, and she goes, "What?" I love that part.
Yeah.
But anyway, they're in the hotel, and then they cut to the kids, and their little sister's drawing on the thing, and it's just kind of this quiet scene, and then the SWAT team bursts in, throw them on the ground with guns, and the kid looks terrified. It's just oh.
And they arrest the kids, and they're really young
it's
kids,
just
innocent
fast
looking.
splicing between scenes. It's a lot.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. There are so many scenes in this because there's so many characters, and I think they do a really good job of managing the story in that way. Janet doesn't, but I do. And then, then you are, so she spent all this money on the hotel room and all these things, and we're back with Alicia. Now she's asking Bernie for a raise. And Bernie's like, that's, he's like, your contract isn't up for another 18 months or something. And she's, I do love this story. So she says, she's asking for more money and all this stuff. And he says this great story about when he was a reporter with a...
it's got to be a real story for someone. Where did that even come from?
It must be.
It has to be.
But basically the story is about young reporters, and they're all, I think, in Paris or something, and Duvall was talking. Duvall was telling her story because she's wanting more money, of course, and so he's like, "Let me tell you this story." they're all, they all think that they're working for this paper. They got these expense accounts, and they're out this Parisian restaurant. And people keep joining him. People keep throwing on the tab, and the tab comes, and it's thousands of dollars. And
$9,000.
Is it nine? It's like an insane
or
amount.
$5. It's like some ridiculous amount of money.
And some old man reaches over. Does he give them the drawing? He scribbles something and then gives it to the
waiter.
To the waiter, and their meal is taken care of. And the guy was Picasso, and so he scribbled a little thing, and it's worth all their dinners.
And I like how natural their reaction is, because she's like, I get the segue. Like,
yeah.
I like how she's like, I don't get it. And he's like, the people we cover, we move in their world, but it is their world.
Mm-hmm.
You don't try to live like them. You won't make it.
We don't get the money. Never have, never will.
But.
And then Duvall says to ask the design, because she's redesigning her house too. He's like, ask the designer and the husband to be reasonable, or give up your nights in town he don't know about. And that's she's like,
what?
Yeah, he knows that she's having an affair.
Yeah, and he knows from experience, because he's obviously had many, which we get a little more information about. Yeah. He is the classic, he's schmoozing with his reporters over the years, and now it's probably.
And so Henry's back in the office talking to Mac McDougal, Randy Quaid, Mac. And Mac's got a gun. Marissa Tomei comes in.
Oh, yeah.
And I love, she says, hey, McDougal, how you doing? He goes, why?
I love that. Then they all start to crowd. There are so many great things happening in this scene, and there are little things
it's
too.
So good.
But even in the beginning of the movie, when it opens, she sneezes in the opening of the movie, and she goes, "Ooh," and he's like, "What?" And she goes, "You never really appreciate bladder control until it's gone." And then in this, when everyone's yelling and shouting, she sneezes and goes. Like makes a face like, oh, like so that there's these little details.
It's a great scene where there's just it's manic like it starts with them, the gun, she comes in, that's when Max says he heard over the police scandal, he thinks that the bus was bogus,
and then she's like, do you want me to go to justice? I have a better guy than you. And she's like, okay, I'll go anyway.
She's trying to get back in. She wants to go cover this thing. There are other reporters coming in vying for different stories.
Who's the one that you really like? She's great. She's the reporter. You want to cover Brooklyn? Then cover Brooklyn.
Yeah.
But you can't do it from a bar stool in Manhattan.
Yeah.
Who is she? She's great.
I think her name's Roma Mafia, I believe.
Love her.
But she's, there's one reporter who's supposed to have the beat on those kids, but he's not doing it. And she's from Brooklyn. She's like, let me cover it. So they're all yelling at each other and all this kind of stuff. And then Marissa Tomei keeps saying, I need to talk to you to Henry.
So
and it keeps going throughout the scene. The scene's building and more people are coming in, and it's manic and crazy. And she keeps saying, I have to talk to you. And Randy Quaid goes, he says, he
starts stacking the papers up.
Let Marty talk to her husband, and no one's listening. Yeah. Later, let Marty talk to her husband, no one's listening. Then he goes and he gets phone books, or not phone books, stacks and stacks of papers. Yeah. Takes these huge reams of papers, 2 of them, and he stacks them on top of each other. He takes his gun out and shoots into the papers, and everyone stops. And he goes, let Marty talk to her husband, please. And then everyone files out, and they're all terrified. And Marissa Tomei says, God, I miss this place.
Yeah.
And it's I love that scene. It's a lot of fun. It must have been so fun to shoot, too. Because when everyone has strong points of views in a scene, like acting-wise, that's all you really want. Like in the whole scene, you wind it up and let it run. And,
it's great. And
Ron Howard does a really good job of that in this. Just kind of like a lot of it feels very like theater.
And I was just going to ask you, because I don't know how this all works, but there's no way, because there's so much happening at once, that you can script all that. Like they have to be very aware of what they're talking about, and a lot of it's probably just ad-libbing because they're just arguing with each other about No, really?
No.
Wow.
I doubt
it's just so it's everything. You're like,
because it's so specific to each of their own stories.
It's
now, I mean,
cool. That's the thing. It's like
maybe
they're all happening at once.
It could have been
the
ad-libbing, but these good screenwriters. Like
the reason I wrote this down was I keep talking about the change collection because it's one of my favorite lines that I use all the time. I have no motive for lying.
I have no motive for lying.
He's like, that's it. That's really it. And it's like, I have no motive for lying, Henry. It's about the change. Anyway, so he leaves the office. He goes to get Coke. Marty's following him, and she's like, I'm going to go to justice. And he's like, no, you're not. And she's like, okay, I'm going to anyway. And when does Alicia come into play? It's after. It's got to be after because she hates Alicia. No, she doesn't see her. She doesn't see Alicia Clark come in, does she? Because earlier she's on the phone with him.
I'm trapped in your brain right now.
Well,
Let's get out of there.
all right, fine.
Let's get out of that brain for a second. So yeah, Marissa Tomei and Keaton are walk and talk about their relationship and everything. You can see they're in love. They're really great together too. They work really well together in this movie. So then there's the 3 p.m. meeting, and Keaton says the kids are arrested, but it's unclear if they're guilty and they may be framed. The dead guys were businessmen who lost millions, and he thinks something's off. And Henry says he stole this whole thing from the Sentinel. He stole this lead from the Sentinel. Then Alicia says that's great, but they're going to run gotcha. They want to get art or a photo of the 2 kids with gotcha on the front. And that's what like really gets under Michael Keaton's skin, because he's like, wait a minute. He's like, there's a question here. And her point of view is, look, we run the ad, we sell the papers, and then we rescind it the next day, or we do a different headline the next day. And he's like, no, that doesn't make any sense. And they all get in this huge fight here too, where Bernie screams at them all.
I like that part when he's like, don't just take a position because it's the opposite of what she says.
Yeah,
but they're a bunch of 6th graders.
Yeah, and they're at each other's throats. But Glenn Close pulls rank. So she's like, get the photo. And they're like, okay, if we don't get the photo, we're going to run the subway story. So then Michael Keaton goes to the photographer, and it's the photographer who's very young and new. And
when does she tell her not to send her? She's like, but don't send.
Yeah, there's a line earlier where like, don't send that one photographer. She doesn't know what she's doing. So he goes to that photographer, and he's like, hey, listen, I need you to get a great picture of those 2 kids. If you understand what I'm saying, like if you don't get a great picture, we can't run the story. You get my meaning? And she's like, yeah, and she clearly doesn't understand at all. He's telling her to mess it up.
Okay, so here's my problem.
Okay.
Oh, okay. All right. I'm an intelligent person.
No.
This always confused me because he's telling her that, and I'm like, in my head, it was always confusing to me because...
So you're like a young photographer that also doesn't understand.
No, this always confused me because she needs that shot, Alicia, for the gotcha.
Alicia needs it.
But they also need a shot of the kids for their story. So I was thinking they both need that picture. I'm like, why would you send Robin?
He doesn't need that.
But what would he use instead?
I don't know.
Oh, just the bank. Okay, that's it then. I guess that I thought they both needed that art, and I was still confused by that.
He goes to her specifically and says,
I get it. I just didn't understand because I thought they would also need a shot of them. But then I'm like, why would they want it on the perp walk? That doesn't make sense.
Yeah, exactly. So he's telling her to get. He says get the shot,
sends it to her so she messes up.
Don't get the shot.
Yeah. No, it's good.
And but I like this. He's like, you get my meaning? And she's like, yes. And she clearly doesn't understand at all.
She's in a bunch. She looks so familiar too.
Yeah, she does. She sort of reminds me of Amanda Plummer, but it's not Amanda Plummer.
Is that the one from Pulp Fiction and from...
That's Amanda Plummer.
Yeah, that's who she looks like
her. It's not her, though.
It's not, but it looks like her.
So Bernie's talking to Henry. I've been doing this for 36 years every day, and you still start from zero. And I have a note here. It's like that hit home for me. And I don't really know. I guess I'm just talking about life in general now in this midlife area that I'm in, where you're just like, what is the why every day?
Well, I feel that way with school too, because it's sort of like no matter how you plan, no matter what you do, and like how experienced you get new people, you get new kids all the time, you get new things that are coming up, and every day you start over, which can be great, but it can also be like,
So Bernie says to him, look, pursue the Sedona angle, but prep an alternate page 1. That's what his office is in, because he's basically going to be out. So he's like, I'm out, I think, for the rest of the day, I think he says. But you do this.
What does he gives him extra time. He's like, you have until something. Is it?
I think he tells him.
Doesn't.
I can't remember what the exact deadline is, but I think their deadline's like 6 or something like that. And anyway. So then there's office chaos, and I said this is super stressful. He needs change for Coke again. Everyone's rewriting stories. They're waiting on the break for the Sedona case, so they're waiting to get, because it's a game of like, do they get the tip on the Sedona case from like, whoever went to go shake those things down, or are they going to get the artwork first? If they get the artwork first, they got to run this gotcha ad, and he's trying to fix it, but it's really nerve-wracking. It's shot really well in this way. And everyone's like, and that's where you see like the newsroom, like they're all arguing over the dictionary or store, or like which word to use or who writes better, and it's great.
I just think what I do, one of the things I like most about this movie, and it is because some of that stuff, when there are other films, and I know because I watch them a lot, where there's a lot happening at once, and I already said it, they don't pull the thread all the way through, and it feels very shallow. Like they follow all these little weird storylines they follow it through. Even the guy getting his share and then someone stealing the chair. Like they are really
There's
good
a lot of great
about it.
moments
It's
like
all
that in it.
it's all there.
I think it's in the screenplay.
And I love too, by the way, when he shoots the paper and then the guy's like, "Is someone hear a gunshot?" It's like, "Oh, yeah, that was Alicia's office." Watch this. Like even the stupid stuff. Right,
There's a lot of great stuff throughout all that. But yeah, so on the printing line, they're prepping the subway cover and they're waiting for the perp artwork, but they can't hold the paper past 8. It's $12,000 every half hour over 8 because of the union drivers.
Those are union drivers waiting out there, mister.
Fantastic ticking clock that they set and thing, and it really like. It winds you up for the rest of the movie. So Bernie's waiting to see his daughter, and she's like a DA.
Crossing Jordan.
Yeah.
We met her. We met her at the Thanksgiving Day parade 1,000 years ago.
Oh, yeah, Jill Hennessy. Yeah.
Jill Hennessy.
Yeah, because Jen Finnegan was on a show with her before she committed with me. So he realizes...
She's a twin, right?
So realizing they're... Hennessy?
She's a twin.
I don't know.
She's a twin.
Okay. Well, so it's Jill Hennessy. And so Bernie, he sees her. You get that they have no relationship at all. And that's where you understand that he was sleeping with his reporters and he ruined the relationship with her. But he's trying to make amends because he knows he's dying. She doesn't know that. And then he sees in the scene that she's got a wedding ring on. And he had no idea.
Oh, my God. You're married.
God. He's so good. Gosh, he's so good.
You know what I like too, though?
And he says, "Do you hate me?" And she goes, I don't know enough about you to hate you."
I love that line.
And he walks away, which is...
I don't know enough to hate you.
Yeah.
And if you hate me, there's no point. Now, what I really like about this is that even though this is a complex character, because it's like you like Bernie and you're happy for him, like in these moments and the thing, but at the same time, I love when and this is later, but when he's kind of like, well, I told her if you hate me, there's no point. But he's got that bit of a narcissist tendency where it's like, you really messed up.
Oh, yeah.
Like, you're not a good person.
No.
And you're here trying to convince people like, well, I gave it a shot. So that's such a deep character for me, when if you understand anything about people that just are so kind of invested in their own BS that, I don't know, I appreciated that you like him, you feel for him, but you're also like, you're kind of a jerk. Like, she's right.
Well, it's a complex character.
Yeah, it was cool.
And it's interesting the way the films go because obviously we're introduced to Bernie.
Yeah.
And he seems sagely, and he seems like he has wisdom, and so we like him because we sort of see him from Keaton's perspective.
Yeah,
and so
like
we like
the mentor.
Keaton. But then you do realize, he did screw up.
Yeah.
I also like that, jumping ahead, that like they don't really have a resolution to this story, and I like that a lot.
And also, she was frustrated. Like, would you have bothered to come? Like at the end, when my name hadn't been in your paper. She's right and bad enough that it's that, but also. She doesn't even know yet that he's probably dying. So it's even worse.
And she never finds out either, which is great. Because that would be super narcissistic if he was like, "Look, I'm dying," and that'd be some cheesy writing. No. But I think they're better writers than that. Anyway. So Tomei is whining and dining a source. I love this.
Oh,
scene.
This is so uncomfortable.
She's talking to this guy. He's like this kind of square, white collar dude, and. I don't know. He works for some kind of finance firm, and she's
clearly had a thing for her too.
Oh yeah, he clearly has a thing for her, and she's just kind of talking, and she's like, okay. He's telling some really boring story. She goes, all right, did you bring the thing? And he gives her a list, and he goes, you're gonna see it soon. It'll jump out at you.
Yeah.
And it's basically tying who these businessmen worked for, and it's putting the pieces together of like this is why it was set up like a hate crime, but really it's like a mob thing.
Yeah.
And she sees it here, and then there's this great moment where the guy, after he's been talking with her, and then she's so excited about the papers and stuff, about what he's brought her, he says, hey, just, did you think any of my stories were funny? And she just says, no.
No, Tom. No, Tom, I didn't.
No, Tom, I didn't. And it's like so brutal how people are being used, but I kind of love it.
I loved it particularly because he's like, I just want to know where I stood. And knowing she's married and pregnant, he's like, well, you knew when I called, Tom. Like, I found that as a woman, I was like, ew. What did you think? Because you did me a favor?
There's
like,
probably that
like
too. There's probably that too, but I also just think... Yeah, he clearly has a crush on her, but he also knows she's married.
That bothered me.
Maybe I'm naive, but I feel like that was more about like being like a friend or a person, or like maybe like having a crush, having a crush, but knowing she's married, but like still being still her enjoying his company.
She still did fake laughing at him,
and then basically being like, no, dude, like I'm here for this. And he's like, And I like how he handles it. He's just like, okay. And then
Well, yeah.
and then he continues talking. But it's a great little scene that's really
Here
brutal.
again, they have these extremely genuine moments with characters that are literally in the movie for like a minute or 2 minutes, and it's so great.
But it's a big find, and the investor list is big, and it's a huge break in the case. So then we see the photographer try to get the shot at the perp walk, and she's a complete mess, and she can't get anywhere. She falls on the ground, and her camera's just shooting randomly.
I'm down here.
And you're like, oh no, she probably didn't get the shot, but clearly she did.
Of course she did.
So Tomei calls Henry to tell him this news, and that it's actually the largest investor in Sedona is a mob trucking company.
D'Onofrio.
Yeah. And so
Proprietor.
so it's 8:25 and the presses aren't running yet, which is $12,000 they owe right now. But they're like, don't run the other story. This is hot. You gotta get it. He's like, I knew it.
Oh, because he's on a few phone calls, right?
And then Alicia comes in and says, Alicia's like, why are the presses not running? It's 8:25.
She puts her hand on the thing, right?
Because she's there's a thing throughout the movie where it's like when the presses are running, you can see like the Jurassic Park water in the glass, like it's or there's vibrations in the building.
She walks in and she's like,
yeah, she's like, so why are the presses not running? And she screams at him and says, you're gonna run that story and do it now, because she has to leave. So she leaves, and the Sentinel guy calls. And he's like, "You stole my story."
Oh, this is my favorite part.
It's a great scene.
So he's on the phone. He's on the phone with her.
He's on the phone with her about the Sedona
He's
lead.
on the phone with not Robin, the woman who's like, she's at the police station. He's like,
oh, the police station.
And she's like, I can't get in. He's like,
they need a quote.
They need a quote for this story. So he's on the phone with her. He's like, hold on. He's on the phone with her at the police station. He's like, oh, you can't wear your press pass. Like, he's trying to get her to like sneak into the station and be subtle. Then he's like, hold on. And then Alicia's on the phone. Or is she on the? No, she walks in.
Alicia calls. Alicia walks. Yeah, sorry, Alicia. Yes.
Which strikes me as rather odd because we are in fact. And then he calls. And
so it's all again. It's another mayhem, manic kind of thing. All this stuff's going, and then the guy calls, and he's like, "You stole my story. You are the most unethical, unprincipled. How could you do this?" And,
my favorite.
And finally, he goes, "You just lost your chance to cover the world.
How do we do this, Josh?
You just go ahead. I'm going to bleep it out.
I want you to do it too.
Well, I don't know it as well.
Oh, ready?
Yeah, Michael Keaton just has this response to the phone. Cover your ears, children.
Well, guess
what?
I don't really
Patarasis.
care. And you want to know why? Because I don't live in the real world. I live in New York City, so go yourself. And he slams the phone down. And then his assistant's like, you handled that well.
Yeah.
That is the best. Oh, that is the, if someone said an alien came down to Earth and was like, what's a Michael Keaton? I would show them that part and they'd be like, that's a good Keaton. I don't even know. Like, that is exactly the way to describe that master class genius.
It's he gets to be full Keaton there. And it's
it is
great.
That's more Keaton in one spoonful. And it's just.
Yeah, that's that great. I think that's
want to
the
know
most
what
famous
happened
scene.
when he hung that phone up. I want to know if the whole set was like, yeah. Like, sorry.
Why all the time? I don't understand.
Guess what? I don't really care. It's the best part of the whole movie.
Yeah, it's great. It's a great part. And we go from there into Bernie's in a bar, and then he's like, and he's just drinking, and he sees Jason Alexander there. We don't know who he is yet, but he's down there, and he's
so sweaty.
He's so sweaty and angry, and he's drinking. He's waiting for a fight. The bartender says, he's like, who's that guy down there? He's like, he's waiting for a fight. Then we go to Keaton. So the clock is ticking on the newspapers, and there's a lot. Yeah, that you hear it through, and there's clocks all over this movie, all over the place, and. So then Keaton goes to dinner. He's late to dinner with Marissa Tomei and with his wife and his parents. And she's told
this entire movie.
She's told the parents about the job at the Sentinel.
Oh, you liar!
Which is he's just come from that phone call, and this is where he has his sort of panic attack. And it's shot well. It's very uncomfortable.
He knows he needs to leave. He's like, he's already late to be leaving.
He's told Randy Quaid to pick him up in 10 minutes.
Because they're going to the police station to get the quote.
To get this quote. And so he's talking to the parents, but he's realizing they know about the job. He's realizing he hasn't told Marissa Tomei doesn't know about the job.
It was a 2-hour trip.
He's freaking out, like, because he's got to get out of there. Why is Randy Quaid here? And he is. It's what feels like a panic attack, and this actually did get me. It's shot really well. It's acted beautifully, and it's like it feels like
for you, sir.
You feel so much pressure.
Like the
here.
waiter's voice is in slow motion, like a baby screaming, and he's like,
yeah, it's like when movies like war movies, someone gets shell shocked for a minute, and everything's kind of like.
And usually I don't like that, but they did do it well, and it's the moment. I don't really remember exactly what it says, but it's like Henry. And he's like, yeah, Mom.
Yeah.
Oh, you're gonna find this funny, and I don't even know what. But when I lost a Sentinel job.
Yeah.
And Marissa Tomei's like,
yeah, he comes clean and says he doesn't.
I stole the
Sentinel job.
lead off the editor's desk.
Yeah.
Are you kidding me? And yeah, basically says he has to leave, and then they go out front and they get into a fight.
They have a huge argument out of the front,
Screaming.
where it's and the cherry on top of it. She says, "You should have told me if we had a kid, I'd be on my own." Because and we see that he's walking down not exactly the same path that Bernie did, but the son is his life. The son, the paper,
Which is funny because then he has a son.
yes, the son, the paper is his life, and the son we're getting from Bernie's daughter was his life, and he neglected everything else in his life for the paper.
Yeah.
And we see that Keaton, at this moment, Keaton is at this impasse, or not an impasse. He's at this junction where like it could go that way.
Well, and what I really appreciate was that it's I think people all the time fall into this because it's sort of like if you're someone maybe like me, so another excuse for this or missing this deadline or doing this, and it's hard because he's probably built this up over a long, like years of doing this, and then he really was right to fight for. He's like, I need this story. I saw you waddle off to do this. You know how important this is.
Yeah.
And so she's right. He's also right because the only way that story is going to come out, and it's like that decision for a lot of people of what's going to give. Something has to give because it's either going to be you ruin your life or you ruin this story. And she's right. It's like a guy walks into the Sun Building. He's got a gun. He says, I'm going to either kill your wife or blow up the Sun Building. What do you do? And he's like, that's ridiculous. And she's like, but that's the point. It's not one decision. It's lots of little decisions every single day. And you're like, oh yeah, that's why the anxiety.
Yeah.
Because you have to.
And she
make
basically
those
gives
calls.
him this ultimate.
It's
She's like,
hard.
"Come back inside this restaurant right now."
Oh.
And he's like, And Randy Quaid's in the car. He's like, "We gotta go." And he goes.
Yeah.
And you feel like it's very it's
tough. I mean, it's
upsetting.
really a very relatable dilemma.
Yeah. Then Bernie's in the bar talking to Jason Alexander, philosophizing about life. The photographer gets back and realizes that she's got the shot. In the dark room. And she's like, "Oh my god!"
But you know how I feel about there's certain cringy screams that people do. That's one of mine. I got it. I'm like,
Oh yeah, you do have a thing with.
I have a
cringy
thing with
screams.
certain look, my hand just started shaking from. I hate it. I'm not. It's not. That's
Then we have this
legit.
great scene with Alicia at this event. So she's gone to this big black tie event, and Jason Robards is playing the head of the paper, the owner of the
And
paper.
he's in Philadelphia. Did that come out around the same time? That's later. I think.
Robards? He's in a lot of billions.
No, he's in
of
the movie
things.
Philadelphia. I
Yeah.
just remember that.
Okay.
Such a good movie.
So she's going to him. She's trying to go over Bernie's head to get him to give her more money, and he kind of makes this weird joke, like sexual sort of joke to her, where he's basically like, "What are you going to do for me?"
Oh yeah, we're gonna take our relationship to the next level. He's like, Alicia, I'm gay.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, he says he's gay, and then she goes, "Alicia, I'm kidding," and it's basically a power move where he completely knocks her knees out from under her. She has because she was kind of getting a little sexual, and knowing that like she's having an affair, like that wouldn't be a thing. She's sort of.
Oh, see, I didn't even read that at all. I thought she was
Oh,
I thought she was just being uncomfortable because she was trying to say like
She's
and I are close. Oh, I
she's
didn't.
being
See,
uncomfortable.
I
but
totally missed
she's
that
being
one.
uncomfortable. She's also being. It's not
Flirtatious.
Yeah, it's extremely.
She's using her feminine wiles.
Yes, it's extremely flirtatious.
So there was a lot of sexual politics. She was trying to work him, and he was like,
and so
yeah,
he
no.
shuts it down, and then also makes her feel stupid for how he just did it. And then he kind of in one fell swoop was like, your contract's not up. And he's like, and you know what? He's like, if you need to go somewhere else, go somewhere else. I'll let you out of your contract. But I don't like when you go over Bernie's head. It's cheap. Which is the thing she's, of course, always trying to be as fancy as possible. So then she follows, so he leaves, and he goes into this room, and she follows him, and it's the men's room. And they're all these guys. And there are all these guys in tuxedos, and they're all at the urinals. So she's like, oh. And he just looks at her and goes, I'd love it if you weren't here.
So good. And then there's like the maitre d', or the guy, the attendant sitting there, and he hands her a towel, and she's like,
yeah.
Like
so
she's
completely humiliated by this.
But another thing is because if you're going through anything at work, like that was such an awkward that thing he says, don't go above Bernie, it's cheap.
Yeah.
That made me like because there's so many of those situations where you're like, I just need to talk to the right person.
Yeah.
And it's such an awkward reality is that even if you're dealing with someone who's not fair.
But I think if you're talking, it's in those situations, you need to talk to the right person if you know you're in the right. She's talking to the wrong person because she wants more money because she's screwing up her life.
But I kind of love
it's not his
when
responsibility.
He says, don't talk to me before him. And she couldn't be like, well, I did. He told me not to do it.
Yeah.
So but I felt that pain of like, oh.
She's the one in the wrong here. But yeah, when you know you're in the right, yeah. So then we have a quick shot of the kids in jail and they're scared.
Don't go to sleep.
Henry and Mac, they get into the police station. This is funny. They say you got to you hold a clipboard. Clipboard will get you in a confident wave will get you in any building in the world. Which reminded me, I saw something on social media about like these two guys saying the same thing about ladders. If you carry a ladder into any building, you'll get in. So they carry a ladder into a movie theater, and they're just like, yeah, and they just walk in. They go see movies with a ladder.
That's great.
So they get into this building with a clipboard, and they find this detective. Here's a crazy thing, and I did a lot of research on this, and to the best of my knowledge, this is true. The detective they get this detective, and the detective is like doesn't want to talk to the press because the press always gets everything wrong and all this kind of stuff. And they're trying to convince him. They're in the men's room. They're trying because he doesn't want to be. The cop doesn't want to be seen talking to and they're trying to convince him. And he's like, "Listen, these kids, we're gonna put gotcha with their picture.
Yeah,
is that what you want?" And he's like, "No." He's like, "Nah. You always screw it up," and eventually they
bury it on page 6.
They go through this whole moral dilemma with the cop, and eventually they said we just need a quote.
Yeah,
and eventually he says they didn't do it. Yeah, and that's the quote, and they leave. But here's what's crazy: that actor, to the best that I could find, it's a little tricky. He actually was a detective.
Oh,
in the Central Park 5 case.
Oh shoot!
And was in part responsible for those kids getting convicted, and he died in 2019. But after they were exonerated, or I don't know if that's the proper terminology, but after they were sort of like let out, he still claims that they were guilty.
Oh, that's so odd.
Shockingly bizarre that it's this guy playing the detective in this role who's saying they didn't do it, and he can't deal with the moral thing. Now, like I said, I saw this at a trivia thing, and I was like, that doesn't make any sense. And then I looked up. It's the actor has this name, and the detective has the name, and I swear they look alike. And I did all the research. I was like, is this like a crazy coincidence? But no, he did that. So he was an actor in these things. He was a detective first. He was an actor, and then he even became a Fox News person.
Oh no!
It was just crazy. I was like, what a weird, how bizarre that's the role. It's the exact opposite of what he did in his life. It's so strange.
That is really strange.
So they finally get their quote. They're driving back, and they're like, he said it. He actually said they didn't do it. They're so excited. They get back. They've been holding their presses all this time. In between this, Bernie's at the bar, and that's where we're getting the backstory.
And they're so excited.
That's where they get the backstory that Bernie cheated on his wife and all this stuff. So then they finally get back to the paper, and they hears the press is running, and they're running the gotcha story. And so
I love this.
He's trying to stop the press. He's trying to, and Randy Quaid's like, you got to say it. You got to. How often do you get to say it?
Yeah, but wait.
What?
But when he's like, how do you stop the... He's like, we don't stop the run. He's like, no, guy walks in with a gun. You hit the kill switch. Well, you can't touch that. Nobody... only Chuck can touch out. Give me Chuck.
Oh, that's
I
what it
love
is.
that. Give me Chuck.
And then he goes and Chuck's in the bathroom, I think,
Yeah.
right? He's like on
Hey,
the toilet.
Chuck, how you doing?
And he gets the key
Gets the
somehow.
key.
And he's like, I feel really better. I feel a lot better about this if I knew that Alicia approved it. He's like, yeah, I talked to her. She approved it. Yeah, we're going to shut the run down. And then Alicia finds out, and of course, and she comes down and says no. Says you're not going to do it, he says this. He's like, they said it. They didn't do it. We can't run this thing that says gotcha if we know that they didn't do it. That's not that's not right.
can't.
And then she says we only have to be right for a day, which I think is so. It's so gross and it's interesting.
is.
And then they get in a huge fist fight.
They do.
And they're just beating the hell out of each other. And Randy Quaid at one point goes, "Somebody should stop this."
It's so
they're
awkward.
just-
The fights are.
And they're just standing there, and everyone's watching,
And she hits him and he
yeah,
smashes
she's
his head,
tough.
and that's actually one scene like they could have taken that in a really dark direction. I mean, he really hit his head on that thing.
Oh yeah, he hits his
it's
head.
crazy.
She gets really injured. It's all this stuff,
She maces the guy.
and he does stop
I
the
love
presses,
that.
I think, and then
Yeah, when she falls and he looks back like,
yeah,
and then they all look at him like, I just do it.
yeah. So he stops the presses,
Stops it.
and then basically she gets up and fires him.
So
Patarezis!
fired.
And then
I love the way
she
she
turns to
says
Chuck.
it.
She's like, "Can you start it up again without something
A
or
web
other?"
break.
It was some like technical thing, and he's like, "Oh yeah." She's like, "Well then do it." And they start it up again, and nothing has happened. And then as she's walking out and she's won, and the presses are running again with a fake title, he looks at her. Keaton looks at her and says, "Congratulations, you've become everything you used to hate." And so then Mac comes out and his car is towed, has been towed. Alicia offers him a ride. Then we see Marissa Tomei at home, and she
Wait.
finds that what?
I'm sorry, I cut you off because you were going to say it earlier, but then you didn't. And before Henry stops it, Randy Quaid's like, "You got to say
You
it.
got to say stop the presses. Yeah, so they
Stop
do.
the presses." Sorry, I didn't mean to stop.
So-
Go.
We see Marissa Tomei, and she's like finds that she's been sitting down and finds that there's blood
Yeah, she's
on the
starting to
chair, and
hemorrhage.
she's starting to hemorrhage. Yeah, and so then it's back to Bernie in the bar, and he finds out that Jason Alexander is Sandusky's the guy that Randy Quaid's been writing these columns about. Right as Alicia and Mac walk in, and they have this brief conversation where Alicia's like, he said everything I ever hate. What does that even mean? And Mac says. He says this thing and goes, "Listen,
Yeah, it's really
the
good.
sun runs a lot of dumb stuff, but it's the truth, and they've never knowingly run a wrong story." And
today.
and that makes her until today.
Until today.
Yeah.
She's like, oh.
And like that really gets to her. And so she leaves. Well, so I guess she goes to get the phone or something. We're not really sure. Henry gets home and he finds the ambulance outside, and that's when he goes upstairs and sees she's being taken out on a stretcher. We have back in the bar. Alicia's calling the press room, trying to get the presses to stop running.
yeah.
But meanwhile, she can't do that because Sandusky recognizes Mac, and they have this huge fight. And Sandusky's got a gun, or no, he gets Mac's gun. And he keeps saying, "Why me? Why'd you have to pick up
Look what I got there.
my kids can't go to school. Your column has ruined my life." He's just this sad sack, and Max is sort of like unapologetic. He's like, yeah. He's like but he finally has that great line. He goes,
yeah.
"Why me? Why me?" He goes, "You work for the city. It was your turn."
And he's just like, oh.
And so he
He's
shoots
so
the gun, kind of like. I don't think he means to shoot anybody. He
No.
just shoots it, but it goes through the wall and hits Alicia in the leg.
All yours.
Yeah.
God.
And so
Would
she
you tell her that I'm sorry?
yeah.
He's so upset.
And she didn't get Chuck on the phone, so she hasn't stopped the presses from running. Henry and Tomei, they burst in the hospital. Like she's about to give, we're not sure what's going on with her. She's going to have a C-section. Alicia arrives at the hospital at the same time, and she won't sign the consent form until they let her get on the phone. And so finally they let her get on the phone. She calls, and the presses
And
stop.
I like that all you hear is replay.
Yeah.
And then it's the super dramatic montage. Then it's like it amps up.
Super dramatic because Marissa Tomei's in surgery. The paper's being run. The birth is cross-cut with a front page change, which is a bit heavy-handed. It's a bit on the nose. Then there's a brief scene with Bernie and Henry in the waiting room. They're just sort of connecting in a way. Later on, the baby's okay, and Henry's taken to go see the baby. Back when they used to take the babies and put them in rooms, and he's just staring at the kid. And yes, it's his son, as he pointed out. Bertie walks to his daughter's house, and he's like outside her brownstone. And he looks up, and not only is she married, they have a kid too.
Yeah.
And he is like touched by it, and he's like kind of laughs, and he just sees her. He doesn't go to say anything, you know. He's just looking, and then the paper comes. Are we talking about? Yeah.
Yeah.
And then the paper gets delivered, and it's the son. It's his paper that she gets delivered, and she comes out to read it.
Yeah.
And so at least she's reading his paper, I guess.
Yeah, that was kind of. He's surprised by that.
And it's nice that that's the moment, because like you could totally see. You know, the moment being like he goes up and makes amends. She's like, "Come on in, Dad." You know,
Oh, yeah.
And it's nice that he just kind of he sees the paper. She's come out to get it, so he walks and hides a little bit down the street, and then she comes out and reads a little bit on the doorstep, and he just kind of smiles. It's nice.
It was a nice subtle. He almost was like, "I'm glad you're happy," because that would be like he kept himself in check. He was like, "She's happy. Like I don't need to."
Yes, and that's the thing. That's his journey, right? Because we have this whole life where he did whatever he wanted. He's narcissistic, screwed everything up, and he realized it's not about me.
No,
she has her life, and she seems okay.
Yeah,
it was really nice.
It was nice.
It's actually my favorite kind of wrap up in the movie.
Yeah, it was good.
So then Henry sees Tomei in the room, and she already has the paper.
Yeah,
and she's like. It's sort of a juxtaposition of what she said in the first. Like, you guys got beaten in the last night, huh? And she's...
You kind of kicked everybody's butts.
Yeah, that's right. You kind of kicked everybody's butts. And he's the one who takes the paper, just throws it down.
Yeah.
And he just climbs into bed with her and it's like, oh, new purpose. Everything is cool. Alicia also is reading. Yeah. Alicia's also reading the story in her hospital bed. And the woman's like, "Oh, do you mind if I read that after you?" And she goes, "Buy your own copy."
That was so weird.
No, it's for distribution.
It was funny.
And then so I like this shot too. It's Henry and Tomei in the hospital bed, and there's the voiceover of the news. Same thing as the movie started after the first scene. And they're talking. You hear the same reporters talking about how the kids weren't guilty, and the New York Sun has reported an exclusive. Blah blah blah. And then it says they say your world can change in 24 hours, and that's what this whole movie is. And I like that it's neat like that.
It is, because your world can change in 20. I like that it started and ended that way. And
I like that it's a snippet of life. And there's some reality to how a newspaper works. Like, and can you imagine like working in that environment? It's insane. And I like that. I like again, what a really good movie always does is shows you a world that you didn't know existed, right? Or you don't know anything about. Yeah. And I think it does a really good job of that.
And it's funny.
And it's really, really funny. And the casting is great. And everyone plays. It's just. The script is excellent. I really enjoy it. And Janet Maslin. She doesn't like this or The Rocketeer. I don't know, Janet.
Janet Maslin.
She's super famous.
You seem to miss was the fact that in a movie where so much was happening at the exact same time, they managed to give dimension to almost every character there was.
Well, she actually didn't miss it. She disagrees. She just.
I don't like her.
She says there isn't dimension. The thing is, but I disagree with that. I think there is,
so
and I think that it's the same way. You know what it is? And a lot of these critics, I think I've noticed, when you go to the theater, right? The first thing they always say is like, it's a suspension of disbelief. It's the same thing as when you go to the movies. You're walking in and you're saying, okay, I'm making a contract with this thing that I'm going to spend my time to watch a story that maybe at its best can represent something real about life, but maybe in so doing isn't realistic in the way, and Eternal Sunshine is maybe the best example of that.
I love that movie.
Which is like, it's so wildly...
But that is the realest movie on so many
but
levels.
That's what I mean is like, there's something so beautiful about it because it's telling you something real and honest and truthful about life in a way that is not necessarily believable in any way or it makes any kind of sense. And the paper...
Yeah.
Maybe because it doesn't make such an obvious kind of abstract or avant-garde approach, maybe they suffer because it's sort of presented as like, here's a slice of life, but it's not. It's like I said, 90s sheen. It's a little heightened. It's a little not real. Everyone's a little safe. Everyone's like, Mac being Sandusky holding a gun on him in a bar and sort of being like, well, like he's not upset or nervous really. He's just like, whatever. And that's supposed to be his character, right? But the guy's still getting a gun pointed at him. It's not believable, right?
No, it's not. It's not believable.
A lot of the movie is not believable.
He was scared. So
it's not necessarily believable, but it's at the same time realistic-ish. And I think realistic is important, right? It's not real, it's realistic.
Yeah.
And and I think that's where like a lot of critics are like, it's not real.
Well,
it isn't real.
They must have
suspension of disbelief.
Well, that's the thing. It's like I'm sure they all have like a very detailed way. Like I'm sure if I was a critic, I would probably try to go see a movie, not think at all about it, just try to enjoy it, then see it again. Like, because it's sort of like they go in looking for what's wrong with it. And it's,
I don't know how they do, but it sure feels like they come out having found a lot of problems. And I'm not sure what it's not standing up to. That's the thing. It always seems like it's whatever.
I think it's just fantastic. And
it is. It's such a really enjoyable movie. It's fast paced.
Yeah.
It's well acted, well written, well directed. Yeah. There's a few moments that are like a little like super, like the birth is super cheesy. The birth in the paper, it's like so heavy-handed and hammy. But we get it, and it's fun, and it's just a fun movie to see. I really enjoyed it. I'm glad that you brought it up, and I can totally see why you like it so much. Like I would definitely recommend this for people to see. Now I think a lot of it holds up still. I agree. Truly,
I agree.
Well, let's do these.
Also, Marissa Tomei doesn't age.
She doesn't age.
Oh my God,
her and Paul Rudd. They should have a lot of children.
You and Paul Rudd say ours the same way. I listened to the podcast the other day.
Me and Paul Rudd say ours.
I'm gonna ask the speech therapist at work.
Our? I don't say ours.
R, like your R's.
Ours.
Yeah, you roll the R. I don't know what that's called, but you both do it.
How do I? What?
You have a vague.
What do I say? What do I say?
It's the way you say the
R.
letter
What?
R.
How?
Like tree.
Oh, I recognize it. I don't say that.
He does it. Yes, you do.
Tree.
No. It's not all the time, but you did it at least 3 or 4 times in one of the episodes. I'm like, it's interesting. Tree.
Well, I'm the poor man's Paul Rudd. What can I say? Let's do this esoteric quotes before we get yelled at by our.
We're gonna get yelled. Oh, we have an hour. Okay, so our mom's is Gary.
Oh yeah, that's true.
And she won't listen to the podcast, so we can. Our mom's mean. Our mom's scary. She's the worst in the world. In the 80s, she was cool. Now she sucks. No, I'm just kidding.
There are certain like shades of mom where it's like, do you remember that one time where we went over there one night and I don't know, she was just in like the
chillest mood.
She had like an edible or something. Like,
I don't know. No,
just start slipping those in.
Like she's again. I know for a fact our mom's not gonna listen to this. Can I say why? That she's just it's not her thing. She's not into it.
Okay.
She's like whatever. But so I can say this. She's scary. She's real scary. Like she's
You think? I mean, I don't have that relationship
really?
with her. No.
Okay. Well, it's a mother-daughter thing.
I think it is
women
a mother-daughter thing.
But no, she once in a while she's just cool as a cucumber. Like you just want to hang out, and then other times she's yelling at you about using paper napkins and not having a spoon. I don't know. She's very
instead
Emily
of cloth
Post like
napkins. Yeah.
Things are in a
Yeah.
But last time we talked about this on the Electric Horseman, I think. Or whatever episode it was where we were driving back from Pennington, and now
Disco Magic on.
We put Disco Magic on, and that was great after she yelled at me a bunch, and you probably. But now we're driving up again for a family event. Should be highly stressful because she was asked to make table arrangements, which she always is because she's really good at it. So we'll report back on which one of us gets yelled at the most.
Well, it's you.
Why? She's already mad at me.
She's not going to yell at me.
She likes you a lot.
No, she's scared of me.
She is scared of you. She's afraid of.
Yeah. She told me that in high school.
I remember. You guys were screaming at each other, and I was listening. You were screaming at each other. I'm not going to embarrass you and tell you some of the snippets from that conversation, but it was like, whoa.
I don't remember that.
If anyone was ever a teenager, and if you're alive right now, you probably were. It was like the mother of all mother-son knockdowns. It was like, whoa.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I remember because I had a girlfriend who was like in her 20s and she was not pleased. And
she was not.
Yeah.
She like low key wanted to stop. Now, I'd also like to get a little more credit for all the guff I've gotten over the years. You were sneaking off to New York to go hang out with her. Why do I always get in trouble?
Well, because you're dumb enough to get caught.
Yeah, but I did it. I did bad things all the time. I only got caught a few times. You got caught. You got caught. Remember when you were on your way to New York? Mom called Aaron, was like, "Tell my son to call me when he gets there." You were busted. You got busted a bunch. But anyway, the point is quotations.
Okay.
I'm a little
I
concerned.
don't remember getting busted.
Well, you were.
All right.
You
So
need to go first.
esoteric quotes. We're gonna do them.
I think what's going to happen is you're going to be like, "You already did that one."
These are the quotes from movies that are mostly well known, but the quotes may not be as well known.
Okay.
They often come up in our conversations, but now we're going to gamify it. And so I give you this first one. And we're just going to do it with cadence.
We're over it now. Yeah.
Come on! Gotta get you out of here!
Shoot.
Come on! We gotta get you out of here!
Well, that sounded like Christopher Walken. My God.
What? No. Not at all.
I gotta get you out of here.
That sounds nothing like Christopher Walken.
Harvey Keitel? No. Is it a cheesy?
No.
A cheesy action? Like,
No. It's at the end of the movie.
Yeah.
And it's pretty much right at the end. And it involves... It's a Robert Redford movie. It's not him that says it, though.
Robert Redford?
Mm-hmm. This one is always... the best esoteric quotes ones are always the ones that stick in your head because of the way that they're said. And this one's always stuck in my head.
Oh, crap. I don't know.
Charles Durning says it.
I know the name, but I don't know the name.
But Scott Joplin. There's a...
What?
You know who Scott Joplin is?
No.
Really?
I know the name.
Oh. How about this one? Someone asks Redford a question, and Redford goes, "'Cause he cheats."
Was it The Sting?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
It's this thing at the end.
Oh,
They've pulled the whole thing
yeah.
off, and
Yeah.
Lonergan. They're trying to, and Charles Durning, this stupid
so
cop, is
scary.
trying to get him. He's like, "Come on, we gotta get you out of here."
Oh, yeah.
I love that.
All right. Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. That tracks.
Yeah.
All right, ready? Want some cookies?
What's cookies? Let me.
Some cookies?
Is there another one after that?
Yeah, there's something.
Milk?
Yeah,
Is that right?
It was like cup of tea. Want some cookies? I forget the first part though, but you know exactly what it is based on what you just said.
Cup of tea?
Want some cookies?
Shoot. This bothers me. This feels very
was
much
the one?
like Line of Fire for me, where I'm getting the whole.
That was insane.
I've got the entire scene.
That quotation, you literally described the entire
I
scene.
know.
You're like, he was wearing a blue shirt and he had green underwear
know,
on,
and
but I
feel
don't know what movie.
I feel like it's a
from.
weird
That was.
problem that I have, and like I'm feeling with this.
Oh my gosh.
I totally know this, and I can't. Here, let's do the next one. I'll see if I can get it. How about this one? This one, oh no, this is spoken to. As I am dead, marry another.
Legends of the Fall.
Yes.
La 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 la.
As I am dead. It's like he's on a boat with like two women naked.
No, they were all men. They were all men. Like he was,
what?
I don't know. Isn't he like naked laying with a bunch of dudes on a boat? It was a lot.
I think
That
it's
scene's
women.
a lot.
That movie's
Oh, is
insane.
it? That movie is that's got to be the most Braveheart, Legends of the Fall.
Legends of the Fall is
you just want to
such a melodrama. It's so
everyone's
crazy.
dead. Everybody's dead. I say that all the time.
What was the?
Oh God.
It's James Earl Jones.
Shit.
It's James Earl Jones in Field of Dreams.
Can I come in? Want something? Want some cookies? Want some cookies? I don't know what he says. There's something he says first, and he's like, "No, good,
no,
so good."
Yes.
Let's see.
Those cookies. He's so sad he passed away recently.
Oh, I forgot. Oh yeah.
All right, go on the next one.
Finger painting. This is kind of messed up.
I'm gonna need more than that.
That's all I've got.
Finger painting.
Finger painting? All right. It opens with, what did he say? Finger painting?
Well, that's
Darn
that's
Yeah.
Cutting Edge.
Yeah. It was just in here. I just felt like
Finger painting.
finger.
Yeah. What did he say?
I love it. I've been doing a little figure skating. You've been doing what? Finger painting? It's a great opportunity. It's figure skating. And I like it.
I like it.
Such an awkward scene, but I love that movie. All right, go. Your turn. Going through the
This is a tough one, maybe.
Ooh.
Because it's a totally performance thing, but you'll get it. So I'm gonna do a motion here. It's just I'm looking. I'm explaining this for anyone who's listening. I'm looking at two different things, and then I'm gonna do the thing where it goes like this. He goes, okay.
What's it, Robert Redford?
No.
Really?
He's sitting in a car, and he just goes, okay.
Oh, I know it.
He looks to the. He looks at him and looks at the window.
Oh. True Lies.
Yes, True Lies.
Yeah.
Just give me the goddamn page.
Hello. Give me the goddamn page. Okay.
Okay.
I love that movie.
No, nothing out of the ordinary, nothing to see here, nothing, What happened to page 7? No, I don't think, must be a misprint there. Just give me the goddamn page. Okay.
He's got his head, he's got her head in his lap, all right. Yeehaw. Love that movie. Oh, man. Oh, that was a good one. That was the correct answer. You lack faith in yourself.
Oh. Well, also Willow.
Ah, dang.
Also
What do you
Willow.
mean also?
Well, from last week, you gave me a Willow one that I didn't. I didn't get
I
as
had
much.
all these written down, and I kind of
Hell, Mad Mardigan.
Which one was that?
You did sit in your coffin and rot.
Oh God, good memory. That was a great one. That in the line of
was the correct answer.
you lack faith in
What's that
yourself
guy's name? Billy.
more than anyone else in the village. I must say my own finger. That's how he says it. It's great. Gaia! Sorry, I'm just gonna start yelling. Gaia! What was I talking about last night? I was talking about movie quotes with someone, and we were just it wasn't you. It was yesterday. I was like firing off. I don't know what that. Okay, so you can pick out I can pick out a face. I have great facial recognition, right? But what is that when you're? Is it a retention rate or something when you remember quotations, like, because I said, what's cookies? Like, you remember that. But
yes.
Anybody else wouldn't be like, oh, Field of Dreams. Like, what is that? Like,
I don't know.
I mean, I know that obviously, like, recall and retention has to do with memory, but what is it about sound? Like,
That's a really interesting question.
I don't know, because, like, I know that the right brain is especially good at recognizing faces, and I'm like, I can pick out, like, an extra in a movie, and I'm like, that's the guy that was in this thing. And it's like nobody would notice, but I recognize the face immediately.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not
what
sure.
is it
I
about
wonder
sound?
how many people.
Is it patterns? Is it just pattern finding? Like you hear the pattern in the sound? I want to know.
I don't know.
Well, I want to know.
And I wonder if it's like if a lot of people have that.
I'm going to find out. My students are going to be doing research on the brain, and I always like to do a little project with them, and that's going to be mine.
That's a good idea.
That's going to be mine.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Let me know, because it is interesting. I've often wondered that because I every once in a while will mention kind of quotes from things and people are kind of like they don't get it or they're blank, or I do the same thing, like I'll recognize this actor from that and I see what they're in, and
Mm-hmm. Also, can I just say, this is irrelevant, but finding out so late in life that he wasn't saying smell no, he was saying smoke no, that really threw me off.
Yeah,
that's all.
Yeah. Well, that's just, paying attention.
It also could be because our family, we have so much passive aggressive energy. The intonation and expression is very big with us. So maybe we're especially attuned to that. Like someone going, like in our family, we all have our own version of okay. So if I had to guess, Dad's okay would be okay. Mm-hmm. Okay. Yours is, you do like a okay. a little bit. Mom says, okay. I don't know what mine is.
I don't think you really say it.
I feel I'm kind of.
I
mimic. I mimic other people.
Okay.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
I tend to mimic other people. So if Dad goes, okay, I'm like, okay. So I don't know, but we're very, like, you hear a tone of voice and you're like, are you mad at me? Like, we're very big on that.
It's something
Way
I
oversensitive.
try to teach Keelan a lot of times too, because she definitely has it from us. Where I try to explain, like, those times when you think that everyone is staring at you.
No one's
they're
staring
not.
at you. No one cares.
They are not. No one. They barely register.
Nope. You're not on their radar.
And it's like, it's so true. And I felt that too. Like, it's a curse to have that and to try to work out of it. And just realize that everyone's got their own stuff going on. And by the way, if they do notice, because I do notice a lot of other times, if I do, I notice it and then I move on.
You notice it.
I don't think about it. I just notice
Everyone's
it.
focused on themselves. We're all the star in our own movie. We're all focused on ourselves.
I mean, it's so true.
You might
now.
notice it.
It's so true with social media. My favorite account is Influencers in the Wild. Do you
No.
see that account?
Oh, is it what did they film them doing
Yes.
influencer stuff?
Yes.
I wish they'd be a little more concerned with who's watching them because it's just embarrassing.
Gosh, it's amazing.
And they're like,
I don't
What are
get
they
it.
doing?
The one I saw the other day that they put up was
I want to get a shirt that says, do you feel influenced?
these two guys who were doing this, stupid choreographed dance.
Oh, it was like-
they're doing like whatever stupid dance they're doing, and it's like their camera set up here, but whoever's filming it's like over here. Like
Oh, I
filming
love
like this.
it.
And that's the whole channel is the people send them videos, and so they're doing this whole dance, and you see like they're in a very large open kind of marble space, and there are a lot of people around them, kind of like. And they're dancing. They're just going wherever they need to go. Like they don't care about anybody else around. And everyone's like, and there's, they're trying to like stay away from them. And then the person filming starts panning over like this. It's over, and it's the Lincoln Monument.
Oh my God.
They're doing this stupid dance in front of the big Lincoln statue, and everyone's just trying to like enjoy the statue. And they're like, no, they gotta do their thing.
So weird. People
Oh my
are so
gosh.
oblivious.
But this is the thing, though. I just sort of negated what I said because, like, I definitely would notice that and I would judge.
Oh. We're all judging. It just doesn't matter. What are you stroking out? What was that face?
I'm just doing this.
That was terrible.
Just making the face.
Yeah, it's ugly.
Wow.